Okay, so before I start showing you how to create this callout title, I'm going to actually show you how to use the preset that I'm giving to you guys. The link to that is in the description. But basically, you're going to find it in your folders after you've downloaded it, and all you need to do is just either drag it in or, open, go to File and Open, and it's going to be right here. And so the main thing that you guys need to know is that it's in the main comp. Now, there's two ways to doing this. You can either open it. I've just double-clicked to do that, and so here's the preset right here. And just to show you guys how this thing actually works, so the start is where the circle is, and this is a null, which basically controls your circle. And then you have the elbow, which is obviously the elbow. It's pretty self-explanatory. But then there's the end, which also controls the title or the callout, whatever you want to call it. But if I wanted to put this into my shot, there's two ways to doing this. So I could either drag in my footage, which is comp 1. I've got my footage right here. So what I can do is drag in my comp 1 and boom, it's right there. Okay, so 1920 by 1080 is the project that I have set up already. But let's say that we want to have it in this composition. Now, you can't just drag the main comp into the composition of your shot, because you're not going to have all of these tools here and stuff. So what you're going to do is you're going to unlock these, and you're going to select all of them, and I'm going to do Ctrl C, or you can right click and copy, and then I'm going to paste them in here. And it's as simple as that. Now I can obviously have my controls here and so on. Now, before I show you how to make this, I'm actually going to show you how to track it in the shot, just like you saw in the beginning of this video. So the first thing I'm going to do is select my main shot right at the beginning. That's my footage. So what I'm going to do is track motion. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly zoom in here, and I'm just going to make this box a little bigger, just so I can have a little more data to work with. Let's see, let's track it on his ear just for fun. Alright, you know what, I'm actually going to start from the beginning of my composition, and I'm just going to put it back on his ear just like that. Okay, so keep in mind that the bigger your box here is, the longer it's going to take, but usually the more accurate it is. So I'm just going to analyze forward, and I can always pause it in case it's going to get muddled up. But you can see it's doing pretty good so far. But if I see it's going off course, I can quickly stop it and do it frame by frame and just adjust it. And just to show you what I'm talking about, let's say that's going to go off course, so I go ahead one frame and I can always just adjust it. Alright, and so now I'm just going to continue with this. And you can see that it's not tracking him completely because he turns his head. So what I'm going to do is go back a few frames here. Let's see, right here. Okay, so now I have my shot tracked, and you can see it's following it here. But what I need to do is edit the target. Just in case you guys don't know how to do this, I'm going to send it to, let's have a look, start, because that is the point where the circle is going to be. And so then I'm just going to apply it. And I'm going to do X and Y, and there you go. Look at that. That was so simple and easy. Now, if you want to have this callout title on the other side of him, basically all you're going to, whoops, I'm going to lock that so I don't mess around with that. But basically all you need to do is move the elbow and the end. Now, quick thing. You notice what has happened with the callout title. So don't worry, you can fix that. Basically go to your title, get your anchor point tool, and the anchor point is right on the end here. And basically it's a little funky, but you just get used to it. But this is how it's going to work out. You just kind of move it around, and yeah, let's quickly get this out a little bit more. Whoops. Okay, let's have it about like that. And then I'm just going to grab my anchor point tool again and drag it out again on that anchor point. And yeah, let's say about there. Let's see how that looks. Alright, beautiful. Look at that. Now, obviously his name's not Murray Frost. How do we change that? Okay, so this is our title here in our composition of the preset. Now I'm just going to double click on it, and here's my title, and I can just change it. Okay, simple as that. Drag it to the middle and then go back to my main comp, and it's updated. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, but now here comes the fun part. I'm going to show you how to actually make this. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, grab a circle, and about that big. And I'm just going to move the anchor point to the center. And what I'm going to do is open the ellipse one, open the ellipse path, make sure it's selected, and add an ellipse. Now I'm going to change the scale of this. Just, let's move about that much. Okay. And I'm going to add a merge path underneath the ellipse path too, and I'm going to subtract. Look at that nice little hole. And I'm going to add another ellipse, and I'm going to make sure that's under the merge paths, and I'm going to make it a little smaller, just like so. So now we're going to have this bullseye, or whatever you want to call it, but now we actually want to animate it. So what I'm going to do is go to, let's say about here, and keyframe the size, and I'm just going to drag that keyframe up, and I'm going to take it down to 0 so that it's completely 0, and it goes all the way up like so. But we're going to have to create that bouncing effect. So what we're going to do is, let's say about here, we're going to drag this keyframe up, and let's see, what was the keyframe at? 38. So let's make it higher. Let's make it like 42, slightly bigger. And then we're going to move 2 keyframes ahead, and we're going to make it about 29. Okay, and move 2 keyframes ahead, and then drag this keyframe back here. Just like so. So essentially, we're going to have this bobbing thing. And actually, this is a little too slow, so let's speed it up a little bit like that. There we go. Okay. So it has this little bobbing effect, but what we want to do is kind of smoothen the effects out. So I'm going to go to Keyframe Assistant and Easy Ease. You can use F9. But the cool thing is I'm going to use the graph editor. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly zoom in here so you can see. I'm going to kind of play around with its values a little bit. So it gives it a little more of a fun bounce movement. So what I'm going to do is select these. Yeah, it's on the scale, yeah. And we're going to do something like that. Alright. That way it just kind of smooths out those motions a little bit. And I'm actually going to space them out just a little bit. Just like that. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is get the scale. And we're going to keyframe that. Drag the keyframe ahead. And I'm just going to set that to 0. And that's going to scale up. And we're going to drag this keyframe a little ahead, and what we're going to do is scale it up to, let's say 108%. Move 2 keyframes, whoops. And what we're going to do is move 2 keyframes ahead, take it down to about 95, and then 2 keyframes, and then drag that keyframe back here. And I'm going to make them easy ease, and let's just see what it looks like so far. Looks pretty good so far. Look at that. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is just make sure they're selected. Go to the graph editor, and I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm going to, again like before, create these nice little mountains, whatever you want to call them, just to give them some life. Okay, look at that. Very nice. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the lines for it. So what we're going to do is create a new solid, it doesn't matter what color, and we're going to drag beam onto it. Now, make it 100% in length. We're going to take its softness down to 0. We're going to change its color to white, and we're going to actually do the whole thing white. Okay, now what I'm just going to rename this line 1. And I'm going to duplicate it. Now, I'm going to create a new null object, and I'm going to create this start. Alright, and I'm going to make 3 of them, and I'm going to rename them so I know what they are. And what we're going to do now is get the you open the effects, open beam in line 1. Now we're going to open the position of all of these null objects. And then what we're going to do is select our starting point, hold Alt on your keyboard and click the stopwatch. Now you can see there's an expression coming here. We're going to use expressions, very cool things, and they're very simple. Now I'm going to pick whip the starting position of line 1 to the position of my start. Alright, and once I click away, you can see that actually on this null, it's already here. So look at that. But we're not finished. What we got to do is go to the ending point, Alt click on the stopwatch, and we're going to take that to the elbow position. Now it's going to be on this position here, on this null. These are basically controls so that we can control it, and it's going to save a bunch of time later, and we're not just wasting our time recreating things and removing things. But basically we're going to do the same thing to line 2. Alt click the stopwatch, grab the pick whip of the starting point, and we're going to put on position elbow. And there we go, it's on the elbow. But one last step, we've got to take the ending point, I'll click stopwatch, pick whip, you get the point, to the end of the position. Alright, look at that. So we have our line here, and actually I'm just going to move the anchor points to the center here. I'm just using a script. You guys can use the anchor point tool here, but yeah. Next thing I'm going to do is, whoops, I'm going to lock these because I do not want to get in the way of those. So I'm going to grab the layer, or the circle, sorry, I'm going to rename it so we know what was going on. We're going to grab the circle and move the anchor point to the center of the start. Now we're going to open the position, and again we're going to alt click the stopwatch and pick up it to the position of the start. So what happens is now the start is connected to the circle, or the circle is connected to the start. So essentially I can lock these so that they don't get in the way, and now I can control this. Nice, simple and easy, and I can make it as long as I want. And remember, I can actually go in and control how thick these lines are. For example, let's just over exaggerate it and make it really huge, and you can make these lines as thick as you want. Obviously that's not what I want it to be, so yeah, we're gonna keep it there. That's 8. So now the next thing we're gonna have is the callout title, which is at the end here where you have the name or whatever words you want. So what we're gonna do is create a new composition, same settings as before, and what we're going to do is grab the rectangle tool. What we're going to do is make a rectangle, hence the name, and we're going to have a fill of white and no stroke. Now we're going to move the anchor point to the left side of it, and we're actually, without this selected, we're going to create another one just on the outside, but this time we're going to remove the fill and we're going to have a stroke. Whoops, there. Okay, and let's have the stroke at about 10 pixels. Alright, so what we're going to do now is, this anchor point obviously didn't move. There we go. So what we're going to do is on the, let's make sure this is the right one. Okay, on the outside layer, what we're going to do is go to rectangle path 1, and we are going to add offset path. No, sorry, we're going to add trim path. There we go. So I'm just going to keyframe both of them, and with them at 100%, I'm going to move ahead in time and just bring them down to 0. Now I'm going to offset them so that there's a little, so it looks like there's a line going through just like that. And the longer I offset it, the longer the line will be. Let's just take a quick preview. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And I'm just going to ease them and go to the graph editor. Now this is actually quite an important step of this, is to go into the graph editor and edit its values so that it kind of gives a little more dimension to the movement, if you could say. So here's what I mean. Looks pretty good, right? Okay. So what we're going to do is, next thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to drag it off in time just a little bit. That's a little too much. Sorry, not enough. And we're also going to change the pixels to about 3. I mean, it can vary for you guys, but whoops. Let's see. Yeah, it's still too close. How about that? There we go. Oh, a little more. Alright. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, next thing we're going to do is with the base, we're going to change its scale values. Now, I'm going to uncheck the chain here so that it will do this instead of this. So, I'm going to uncheck it, keyframe the scale, and I'm going to make sure that keyframe is 100%, and I'm going to take it down to 0, so essentially it's scaling like this. Now I'm going to make it start a little bit later, so yeah, about there. Okay, I'm going to ease them, and I'm going to go into the graph editor and just give it a little bit of movement. Let's give it a little more. Kind of want it to come in really quickly and slow down as it goes. There we go. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is duplicate it. I'm going to offset it by just a little, and I'm going to change its color. Let's just make it a dark red. I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to make sure that's white. And actually, I'm going to change the bottom one's color to let's make it a dark blue, just like that. So we essentially have this. Oh, it looks very nice, doesn't it? Okay, now next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to duplicate the top one again, so it's the white layer, and we are going to create some text, because you know this is not a callout title without text. And I'm just going to center that up, and I'm going to drag that under the top white layer, and then what I'm going to do is on the text layer do alpha matte to the above layer, and so essentially it's going to be revealing only on the white, so it's almost essentially like a mask, but it's quick and easy, much quicker than a mask, and probably better quality. So essentially this is what it's going to look like. Oh, good. Alright, and that's pretty much it as far as that goes. Now back in here with the callout title main composition, what we're going to do is grab the let's see, it's in composition 1. We're going to drag that inside, and actually we're not going to move its position, we're going to get its anchor point, and we're going to put it down there where it's supposed to be, right about there. Okay, now we can scale it, and we're actually going to reposition it, and we're going to get the anchor tool, we're going to bring it down. Now what we're going to do is get the position, and we're going to keyframe it, parent it to the end position of the null. So it essentially does that. Look at that. Now we're going to have to do a couple adjustments to where it is, so I'm going to just have to play around. It's a little funky, but you'll get used to it, because you see you don't want these lines to be touching. It'll kind of look weird. I mean, you can if you want to, but that's not what I'm going to have. Let's have it about there. So, and I'm also going to take this out just a bit, just like so. Now we want to have these kind of lines come out, because it's just boring when it just appears just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the lines, and we're going to go into beam, and it's going to be time, so essentially like so. Now we're going to keyframe, more keyframing, yay. So this is where it's going to start at, end at 50%, and we're going to take it down to 0, and essentially it's going to start like that. Now I'm going to offset this because this is the second one. I want to go to the first one and do the same thing, but it's essentially going to start sooner. So let's say about when the circle comes out, about there. So let's set that at 0%, and it's going to come out just like so, and the other one just like so. And they kind of line up really well, actually. Check it out. Almost exactly. So it's going to look like this. Now I'm going to actually make them a little faster. Just like that. Okay. Now, you can see that it's got these little spots. And we just want to get rid of those. So, what we're going to do is, with the opacity of line 1, we're going to go to where it starts, and we're going to go to, we're going to press T for its opacity, or excuse me, yes, opacity, there we go. And we're going to keep it at 100% here, and go back one keyframe. I'm just holding Control and the left arrow key, and I'm going to set it to 0. So there it starts, and we're going to do the same thing to the other one. Opacity, where does it start? About there. Alright, 100%, go back one keyframe, set it to 0. There we go, it's disappeared. So now it's not there before anything happens. So essentially it looks like that, but what I'm going to do is actually, let's see, go to the time, and we're going to go to the graph editor. Let's see, it's in blue here. Well, actually first I'm going to make them easy ease, because it's going to make my job a whole lot easier. So F9, and there they are. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Where'd it go? F9, and give them a bit of bounce. Let's see what it looks like. Look at that. Not bad. Alright, and that's pretty much it. Very straightforward. Well, sort of, if you know what you're doing. But I hope I made it as simple as I could and saved as much time as I could. But now you can just lock these, and you can lock that too. But now you can actually just control it without worrying about touching these. And that's all you need to do. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you guys enjoyed tutorials like this, After Effects, Premiere Pro, and just filmmaking in general, consider subscribing. And remember, learn, film, repeat. And until next time, keep smiling, keep shooting.